Oh, welcome back to another edition of Into the Depths. Our second edition of Trials and Ghostalations.
Yes, we're here to tell you guys more spooky stories that truly happened to us. And this is our second parter, and we are doing it with more of a spookier tone, I guess, with our little lights off. And, well, we expected the PG blackout to happen again, but we're making do and trying to make it creepy as hell.
Yeah. We said fuck the lights, and we're just gonna take it as it is and take you to a place where you may not want to go.
We hope so. I mean, if you want to go there, come join us.
Yeah, you won't get bitten much.
Well, so we have a few stories, about 3 each, and did you want to start us off on the first story?
Yeah, I suppose I will. So we left you with some pretty spooky stuff last time. This time I wanted to go into the darker ends of my experiences. Ooh. And we'll start off on a road trip. A road trip I took when I was 18, right after high school, and it was a West Coast road trip. So I went with one friend of mine. His name is Colin. Hey, Colin.
Hey, Colin.
So we went from my home in Penn Valley, California, which is in Nevada County, all the way down to San Diego, and then all the way up to the very tip top of Washington, and then I came home. I left his ass in the tip top of Washington.
State of Washington, by the way. For
Yeah,
those who
the state of Washington.
want to be all tight about that, but yeah.
Anyway, when we were in San Diego, we were trying to find a place to stay, and I remembered that my mother had a friend who had built her own home in this remote part of San Diego, up on this ravine hill. It was a hill with a ravine, and she had a few distant neighbors, but it was very quiet. It was very out in the boonies, if you will. So I finally got a hold of her, and we met up, and Colin and I went to her property, and she's like, yeah, if you want to like camp in the ravine down below, there's like a little lake, and you can like set up right there, set up a little campfire, which we did. And a side note, this was the first time after several days that we tried to set up our tent, and it actually worked, because this was a tent from like the 30s and it had no directions. Anyway, so we get our tent up, we have some dinner, and we both pass out in the tent. At some point in the early morning, I am in a very light sleep. I wake up and I realize that there's a truck coming down the road, and it passes our tent and it goes up the way. All the while, for the last 4 or 5 hours, a little dog has been barking its head off relentlessly, just so you know. This truck drives up way past us, and I can see kind of through the tent where it's going, and it's up to one of the neighbors' houses. And that didn't seem like much at the time, because yeah, there are neighbors, but and I hear the truck in the distance turn off, and a door open and shut, and then just the dog barking for a while. After about 2 minutes, the dog stops barking entirely, and then there's silence. And then another few minutes pass, and I hear a very loud pop, pop. It sounds like a gunshot, or multiple gunshots. And at this point, I'm like, where's the fucking dog? Was that some gunshots? I'm awake. Colin's way asleep. He couldn't be perturbed. Anyway, another 5-10 minutes go by, and I hear the door of the truck slam again, and I hear it coming back down. I see the lights through the tent from the truck come around the road, and we were like 15 feet from the road. It's a gravel road, so it's not like a main road. Anyway, the truck abruptly stops right outside of our tent. I hear the door open again and slam. I see a figure walk directly up to the tent. This is definitely a man, a very large man at that. And I shake Colin. I'm like, wake the fuck up. And he's like, what the fuck? I'm like, shut up. And I make him look. And he sees it too, and he's freaking out. And I grab a knife that is right next to me, and I'm waiting to do something because I don't know where this is going. He steps further up to the tent. His shadow is right up on the tent, and he even reaches out to it. He pauses. He drops his hand, and he steps back to his truck, gets in, and drives away.
Ooh.
I can't fall back asleep that night. I get out. I grab a stick. I legitimately sharpen a very large stick to a point, and set the fire back up. I like cook myself some fucking oatmeal. It's like 3 a.m. and now all the sounds of animals moving in the bushes are freaking me out. And about 4 hours later, we're back on the road for another 12 hours. But I did learn that somebody did die that day, and it was one of Laura's neighbors, the friend that we were staying at.
Oh shit.
So that was a murder that we were in the midst of, and the murderer chose not to murder us.
Well, I mean, you guys were probably so silent, but that was probably the second pop, was the dog and her, or the neighbor. Wow, that is fucked, man. I wonder what made him stop. I wonder if he was like, maybe they're dead asleep, or what.
I think he may have been concerned about witnesses, which I legitimately could have been.
Yeah.
But I think that since we weren't making a sound and there was no rustling or anything, he just decided to let it go, which was to our advantage. But I think that was maybe the closest I've come to being murdered in my life.
Yeah, that's insane, man. Was it a big dog, do you know?
It sounded like a little dog, like maybe a Pomeranian or a Shih Tzu.
So it was like yapping.
Yeah, it was a yappy dog. But
okay.
And it was yapping for hours. And as soon as the door on the truck shut and he went in the house, maybe like a minute or two after he had entered the house, the dog stopped barking entirely.
Oh, maybe he just twisted his neck.
I'm thinking it was a...
Yeah, so that must have made it a small dog for sure then, so he could just be like, done. But I mean, we had a murder up here where we live in Grass Valley, California, and it was the lady's ex-husband.
Right.
And people just said that it was so quick that he like came, pop, pop, and was gone. And then I was actually supposed to be a part of that trial, and I got out of it because I knew the sheriff that was the lead sheriff, and they had that case solved in 2 days. Because people saw him, but like it was quick, and I mean, it's surprising because I mean it's so close housing up there in like North Bloomfield area, but for you to be out there alone, he totally could have just killed you guys and just called it like boom, no witnesses.
Yeah, and that would have been really easy for him because he legitimately got away with the murder. I don't know if they ever found him after that.
And feet away from your tent.
Yeah, his hand, I could tell by the shadow, was inches away from the edge of our tent.
Maybe he was trying to see if you guys would move or something like that and make a sound, to see if you were awake. And since you guys didn't, maybe that saved your ass. But damn, that's spooky as fuck.
Yeah, that one got me pretty hard. Whew.
Yeah, the closest thing I ever had that was a shotgun pointed in my face was because me and my brother and his friend were playing airsoft guns back in the day when it was super huge, and we were playing in the backyard of my house, and it was like not our backyard, but it was like a bunch of forested area, and we just turn around, there's this dude sitting there with a shotgun, probably 15 feet away from us, and he just goes, stares way too long, and just puts his gun up and goes, "I thought you guys were raccoons. You need to leave." And we found out he was growing marijuana. Go figure.
Jesus.
And I said marijuana because, I don't know who's listening out here.
Marijuana.
Mary Jane. Yeah. But it's intense. That's insane. To have reach out to be like, what did he change his mind to be like, no, they didn't do anything. But what made him go kill that person? Because there's always a motive,
right?
Unless you're a serial killer. But I doubt he'd go in the woods for that. That would seem like I'm gonna kill this person.
Yeah, I think all he intended to do was go out and kill that individual, whoever was in that house. I heard it was a middle-aged lady, maybe ex-wife, I don't know, but yeah,
wow.
that was intense. And I know it's not a ghost story. I know it's not paranormal.
It's still spooky as fuck.
But just seeing the shadow of what could be my death. That was enough to make that a story for this.
And like we said, these are true stories. So, in my opinion, the fact that something like that is a true story, like if you told me that happened to your friend, not as scary. But when it's you and you're telling it from your point of view and everything you saw, it's creepy because you put yourself in the mind of the person telling it and being like, I would lose my shit. And that's what's nice. It's a true story. It feels almost like you were there. Yeah,
I'm glad I finally got to tell you that story because I've been wanting to for a long time.
That was a treat for you guys, the audience, and also me because the last week after we finished the first Ghosts and Ghostalations, he's been wanting to tell me that story, and I told him, nope, I want to hear it when we do this episode. So I got to hear that for the first time too, and I kind of have goosebumps now. So that's insane. Yeah.
Well, your turn, my friend.
Well, good segue for me because that is insane. And my next story is a ghost story. And it takes place in an insane asylum. So in Nevada City, our sister city, has an insane asylum that has been abandoned for a long, long time.
The HEW building.
Yes. And kids do what kids do. You try to let's go see if we can see ghosts. Let's see if we can do this. And I've already figured myself to be a weird conduit for these things. So for my friends, my friend Pat, he really wanted to go, and he's already been there, but he wanted to take all of us there, and it was like 6 or 7 of us. We started being like, okay, let's go, because 3 or 4 of us hadn't gone. I hadn't gone yet, but I wanted to go so bad. So we ended up driving up there. It's midnight, like almost dead on. And of course, we had our little weapons, our little knives, because there's always homeless people sitting there, and you have to pry open. They would always break down the boards on the windows, and they have to reseal them, so you just have to find a new way to get in. So we finally walk around this building, and we're like, we can't get in here, this sucks. And then finally we see an opening, and it was like a board that was cracked, and we're like, okay, let's squeeze in one by one. We only had 2 flashlights. And the way the layout of the building is, it kind of has a spiral ramp that goes up a little bit. I believe there's 3 stories or 4?
There are 3.
3, yeah. So the top is kind of more like some of the crazier rooms, but kind of you can tell the coffee there was a fireplace in one of the rooms. And if you're from Grass Valley, Nevada City, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. And so that was like the upper stairs area. The second middle area was kind of like where all the crazy rooms were, and you could go around. Like, it was horrifying looking, just because you got graffiti, you got all your normal kid shit, but the feeling is off. And so, Pat, I don't know if you're listening, but you kept talking way too fucking much. And the big thing is, if you're looking for ghosts, shut your fucking mouth. So Pat's talking, and he's like, "Did you hear that? Did you hear that? You guys heard that?" I'm like, trying to spook us out. But I was like, okay, I'm getting annoyed because I felt like something was near me, and so I stayed away from the group and got out of the light completely from the flashlights. I'd have my lighter if I needed it. But I sat in one of these rooms with my friend's Andrew. Hey Andrew, love you bud, miss you. He comes at me and he goes, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I don't know, this room just feels really creepy and I love it." And I'm sitting there and he's sitting there and he's like, "Okay, yeah, I don't like this room, let's go catch up with the others." So we end up catching up with the others, and then I keep feeling this thing's behind us. And I'm always the person that stays in the back and just loves to have that creepy feeling of like, what's behind me? But this was different, and I'm like, okay, this is really tripping me out. So I slowly start like trying to walk away from the group, and then finally we all meet up in the like the area where the fireplace is. We all spark up some joints, we're having a good time, and we're just
not
laughing.
marijuana
Cigarettes. And we're having a good time, and then I just feel like the way we came from, there's just something, and it's like pitch black down this hallway, and it's a long, long hallway, and it's where we just came from. All the rooms are there, and I just felt like something was sitting there, and so I see a pencil on the ground, and I was all, "Andrew, come here," and he's like, "What?" And then everyone kind of heard me, and so they're like, "What?" And I was like, "I feel like there's something there." So I'm trying to talk to it. We all kind of are like, "Hey, if there's something there, let us know." And then nothing would happen, and we're kind of like, okay, maybe it's nothing. And I was like, I don't know. And then we just heard this loud doof. We're like, oh shit. But of course we go, it's probably a fucking homeless person down on like third level thinking that we're cops coming to get him or whatever, that we might beat him up. I don't know. So we kind of played it off, but I felt there was still something right there in the hallway. So I throw this pencil, and it just gets, I didn't throw it hard. I throw it probably through 10, 15 feet. And it goes right outside our flashlight area where you can see light, and it just disappears in the darkness. And you kind of hear it just and then I was like, okay, I want to go see if I can find it. And then I grabbed one of the flashlights, and then I immediately see that it's not there. And I was like, you guys, come here. We all looked for it. We could not find this pencil that I just threw. I did throw it hard, and if I did, this is a long hallway. You would have heard it go way down there. But we heard it probably 10, 15 feet in front of us. So we start going down the hallway, and we're looking for this pencil, and at the end of the hallway, it was sitting right down there, which is impossible for me for a little chuck. Barely hard at all. I would have had to just throw it as hard as I could to make it that far. So it was just kind of that weird, like, what was that? And I know it's not super spooky. It was just something that's really unexplained. But I don't know. And I went back there 2 other times in the insane asylum before they finally just like made sure no one can get in.
The security has gone way up. More fences, more locks.
But yeah, then there was like at the bottom of the bottom basement area, there was stirrups. So for like, for women, gynecologists, whatever, there were stirrups, and so we would have some pictures of us all getting up and like this and that, blah blah blah, having fun, joking around. And then like the next time I went with my friend Andrew, who I mentioned before, on his birthday, and it was just me, him, and his girlfriend at the time. And we had such a weird experience. We didn't see anything physically, but it was just loud noises, just really weird moan sounds, and you would just see shadows moving. It was just a very eerie, creepy place, and that's why everyone went there, because it was like you wanted to be spooked, you wanted to go smoke, and it was just that rebellious thing. But there was something, maybe many things in that building.
It's a pretty special place.
Yeah.
And I was gonna tell a different story for my second story, but
Maybe talk about the little girl you saw.
You know what? No.
Okay.
No, I'm going to actually relate to the HEW building too.
Okay.
Because this one, for as much as the story that I was planning to tell got me pretty bad, this one, I don't know, is somehow more memorable.
I do remember you telling me the story, so yeah, it is a good one.
Okay, well, myself and John, and Jesse, I believe.
John, Jesse.
we
Sorry.
got a lot of J's.
Yeah.
And I don't know if any
Oh wait,
of you
isn't
guys.
it Donald's birthday today?
Oh
Was it?
shit! It might be.
I think it was either today or yesterday or something like that.
Oh fuck! I need to hit him up.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Happy birthday if it is.
love you.
Love you.
So this is when most of us were like 19 or maybe 18. I don't know. But we decided to take a trip to the HEW building in the middle of the night. It was probably 1 in the morning. And we went there to basically wreak havoc, really. We were just there to break shit and maybe try to convene with a particular ghost named Penelope.
Oh yeah.
We sort of did, but before that, before we really got into that, pretty early on, we were able to find a door that was very barely barricaded. We literally kicked it open and walked in, and we were at ground level, and you kind of just spread out a bit, and we actually went upstairs first, and then kind of came back down, and I found on the ground level like an infirmary where people are treated. We saw some gurneys and
The place I was talking about, the stirrups.
yeah.
I totally remember this. I thought you told me about a different story, but now remembering this one. Oh fuck, man. Oof.
Yeah, this one fucking gets me, dude, because it's really hard for me to believe what actually happened at this point, but
Okay.
so
Sorry.
we were all kind of looking around with flashlights and shit, and I find myself at the far end of this infirmary, and there's a medicine cabinet. I look in the medicine cabinet just to see if there's anything there, just curiosity's sake, and maybe if there is, maybe there's something fun. I don't know. I was like 18 or 19. Don't judge me. But I open it up, and there's a fucking hole in the wall the exact size of the medicine cabinet above the sink. And I shine my flashlight in, and I can't really see anything. Maybe like some support beams, and then I shine my flashlight down, and I peek in, and I can see a ways down that there's dirt. And we're on ground level, so this would be sub ground level, like basement level. And I don't know, I had had a few drinks, so I think it's a great idea, with nobody else watching me, to climb up on the sink and propel myself through this hole in the wall.
A few drinks.
Yeah. And I go through the wall, and I fall much farther than I think I'm going to fall. It was about 10 feet, and I land like directly on my face. It knocks the wind out of me. My face fucking hurts. I need to get my bearings again. And I get up and like dust myself off, and I still have my flashlight, and I look around, and yeah, there are support beams and dirt, and that's about as far as I can see. and I look up, and I can see the hole where I had fallen from. It was about 10 feet up. I'm like, man, that was stupid. But then I look down right beside me to my right, where I had just fallen through. At about 3 feet over, not much more than that, there is a straight drop, like a black pit. My flashlight can't find the end of it. I can't even see the other side. It's just darkness. And so I'm looking for something just to try to find out how deep this goes. And I find this chunk of concrete, just a chunk, sitting by a beam. I pick it up and I lob it. And I count to myself. 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000, pop. So I don't know what the math is on that, but that's a pretty goddamn deep hole. I don't know what it's for. I don't know why it was there. I didn't see another door to get into this spot, or why there would be a hole behind a medicine cabinet to get here. But at this point, I'm like, I need to get the fuck out of here. So I start screaming for my friends. I'm like, get me the hell out of here. And luckily, there were a few of them still on the ground floor, because this was a few minutes of me figuring shit out. And a couple of them come up, and it takes one of them holding the legs of the other while kneeling on the sink and dropping his ass down so I can grab his arms and get pulled up to get out of there. Otherwise, I don't know how I would have gotten out. I don't know what it was for. I don't know what the hell that was all about. But all I can say is that it didn't feel great. And I did hear stories, and not that I know that they're true, that they did dispose of bodies there in a not so copacetic way.
Professional fashion.
Dubious, if you will. And in my theory, that pit might have been something to that effect.
Yeah, I mean, the one logical explanation, because we're not irrational people, is that if you don't know, Nevada City and Grass Valley used to be mining towns, so it could have been leading to that, and how they used to like heave up certain things, certain items. It could be that, but it's underneath an insane asylum. So, and I remember hearing the same rumors, is that they used to do things like that. And this place has a lot of history. So, of course, back in the day, if you did something unlawfully to hurt a resident or whatever, nobody cared. It was like, go put them down the stairs.
Throw them in a ditch.
Yeah. So, it's still freaky, because that's actually like, oh, sorry. One of my biggest things is being trapped somewhere where it's like, oh man, how am I gonna get the fuck out of here? When you're like saying falling down a pit. You're lucky you had your friends, but say there's only 2 of your friends there and they were short people.
Right? That could have easily gone very wrong.
Yeah.
And just to note, the pit, there was sort of a like, if I had jumped in and that hole was just slightly over to the right, or I'd somehow rolled over to the right in any way,
or the ground gave. It's an old pit.
Any one of these circumstances, I don't know, I'd probably be dead.
And you said it was 3 feet away from you when you landed.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't measure it, but that's my
estimation. Guess. And that's the thing too, is if you were like jump down on your feet, you're most likely gonna roll. So you falling on your face and face planting probably stationary
It
you.
might have saved my ass, even though it hurt like hell.
Even though you're a dumbass, but
Like how you're like,
a few drinks. I just dove headfirst into this random hole.
a few, many.
Yeah, no, I do like that story. It's a good one, and we might have time later for you to tell the other story as well.
Yeah, maybe we will.
Yeah. So let me get into my second story, and this story means a lot to me, guys, because this really happened to me. And most people are always like, whatever, you're crazy. But this literally happened to me and it changed my life forever. And again, it's not just your normal ghost story. This to me is a very demonic thing that happened to me that still blows my mind. I don't know how it even happened. I mean, me and my siblings used to play with a Ouija board. We used to joke around about this stuff. But then, of course, if you are into this stuff like we are, you can easily open a portal and bring something out. And if you don't do it properly, it can stick with you for a while.
Yeah.
And so it started out when I was younger. I was about 14 years old, so middle school. I remember one day me and my older brother shared a room, and he always left the TV on, so did I. It was just how we fell asleep. And I remember falling asleep and then waking up in my dream. And when I woke up in the dream, I was sitting in our computer chair in the middle of our room, and it was pitch black all around me except for one gleaming light, like a little slimmer of light coming from the door because it was slightly cracked. But it was extremely bright, and so I'm like waking up in my dream, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Extremely lucid. So I look around, my brother's not in his bed. I get up and I go towards this light. I open the door, and it's just this vast expanse of whiteness. And I can see two figures in the distance. Can't really make them out, not really well. So my first instinct is to walk out. But I can't. There's like a barrier blocking me to pass through it. And so I'm smashing on this thing trying to get out, and so I start screaming, hey over there, help me, hey. And then slowly, like, they were coming like not closer to me, but I could like slowly understand and like make out shapes, and then slowly it became clear, more clarified to me that I can see who it is. But I can't still see who the man is, and I can see it's this little girl in a white dress. She's standing there with her black hair. She looks very formal, and the older man's talking down to her like, and she looks about 5-6 years old. He's looking at her, and I can kind of faintly hear him say, hey, are you lost? Do you need help? Where are your parents? Let me help you. It's gonna be okay. Just talk to me. Do you need help? And it's kind of echoey, and I'm just losing my shit. Like, what is going on? And then I slowly see her look at me in the doorway. And I'm like, okay, so she knows that I'm here. And so I'm, again, just trying to bang and be like, hey, what's going on? And he's still looking at her while she's looking at me. And then her eyes turn pitch black. And this is where it's going to sound weird, and I can't explain it either, but this is what happened. Her arms slowly just start shedding off her body and just start dropping in this bloody pile mess. And these little tentacle arms start coming out of her where the holes were. And then her jaw just drops and droops like a fucking horrible horror movie, but looks so real, and her fucking tendons are just hanging there. In a weird way, it looks like she's smiling. And I'm just like, what the fuck? And then immediately she just looks back at this guy talking to her, and she just puts one of those tentacles right through his chest. And he's and then immediately I'm sitting there trying to warn him, I bang, and then that happens, and then the barrier just drops. And I spill out of the doorway, running towards him as fast as I can. And at the same time, I'm thinking to myself, there's no way, why am I running towards this fucking incident? But I can't stop now, and I'm just running towards him, and she pulls out, and then she starts walking towards me slowly. And then she just turns in this black dust of sand, dust, whatever it was, it's just, and then as I'm running right through it, and it starts going in through I'm breathing it all in, and then I don't stop, and I get over to this guy, and I'm like, it's gonna be okay, it's gonna be okay, and I look at him really clearly, and it's me, looking at me, dying, and all I said to me was, she's here, and I wake up in my room, TV's off, like no time has passed at all, I was barely asleep. I have no idea what was going on, and somehow after an hour or so, I go back to sleep. Spooky, right? But what happened next is what starts to freak me out. About a week later, my friend Will, he was having his birthday party. So we all meet up at his house. We're sitting there playing video games, and I just keep having this weird feeling ever since that happened. Like something is just like near me, and I just feel uncomfortable all the time. But I remember sitting there, and I'm sitting at his computer desk. His computer's on. There's 5 or 6 of us in the room. They're playing PlayStation 3. TV's right in front of me, and I'm out of soda. So I'm like, I'm gonna go get some more soda. And as I stand up and walk past, every electronic equipment in that room shuts off all at once. They're on different outlets and everything. The light shuts off, but his living room and all the other lights are on. Everyone's like, what the fuck? What the hell? Because, they're excited they lost their video games. They're pissed off. And like, what the fuck just happened? And I'm weirded out at this point. Just still feel shocked and weird. So I leave the room, and as soon as I leave the room, everything just turns back on. I'm like, what the fuck? And so I go outside, and I was smoking cigarettes at the time. So I went outside and smoked. My friend asked me, he's like, that was weird, wasn't it? And I was like, yeah, it was super weird. And it didn't happen anytime that night again, but I can't shake this feeling. And my dreams have been fine, but every so often I hear someone call my name. And it's in this, like, not high-pitched voice, but like a little kid voice, little girl voice. Just calls my name, Brandon. And I turn around all the time, just always on edge. A week goes by, and I go to hang out with my friend Vince. Now, he loves electronics. Love you, Vince. He loves electronics, and he can even vouch for me on this. So he's sitting there setting up his new radio that he got. So it's a new sound system, it's new everything. He's super stoked. His mom's driving me over there, and I just get to his house. I can hear him playing music. I'm excited for once, and then I walk into his room. His whole stereo equipment just static, just. He's like, what the fuck? And he starts fixing it, and I just freak out because that feeling comes back in a flooding instinct, and I just like run out the room, and I can hear as I'm going out the house, it all turns back on, and it's fine. He comes back out, and he's like, that was super weird. I was like, yeah. I think I'm gonna go home though. And he was like, why? And I was like, I just don't want to. I just can't. I can't do this right now. I don't feel good. And so I ended up going home. After just getting there. So a few days later, I'm like having these moments where it's like I'm walking, and then like a week later, I'm walking and I'll hear my name called. And then there was one time I was walking from where I lived in Tall Pines. I'm just taking a walk because I still can't shake this weird feeling, and I'm also like, yeah, I'm a teenage boy. When I look back at it, of course, you're going to have these weird feelings. But there was this one time I was walking, and I hear someone shout my name, like, loud and clear. So I thought it was my friend. Yeah, but it was a little girl. It was like, Brandon! And so I turn around, and I see this little fucking girl, the same one I saw that night with no tentacle arms, though, just the way I saw her the first time, giggling and smiling at me. And then a car, like a fucking movie, I swear to God, just goes right through her, and she's just... So I'm freaking out, and this goes on for months, and I'm losing my fucking mind, and I start to tell some of my friends, and one night, me and my friends, we used to go and steal these gnomes from this house, and there was probably 13 to 15 of us, and we all went to go steal these gnomes. It was always a tradition. Yeah, exactly, and it was just tradition for us. We always went to this person's house just to fuck with them, and so we go, and after we steal the gnome, we're walking back. There's probably me and 3 of my other friends that are sitting there way in the back. Other people are sitting there laughing and having their little, groups kind of click up a little bit. And I just heard her again scream my name, and I turn around and I see her, Brandon. And then my friend turns around and he goes, dude, are you okay? What the fuck? And I was like, did you just see that? And he's like, yeah, it looks like someone's standing there. And I was like, what the fuck? I'm not crazy. And then, like, I'm freaking out at this point because someone else now verifies that they saw something. Well, I see her in full form. He saw a shadow of it. And he walks back with me, and he's like, dude, it's okay, we'll just walk with you. And then he told 2 of my other friends what happened, and like we all just like walked together and like just kind of talked about it. And I told them everything that's been going on. They're like, what the fuck, dude, that's really creepy. And they already know me as the guy who sees shit, so of course I'm like, oh great, now they know I'm crazy, even more crazier than this. And so it gets to a point where all this is still going on, and then I finally have another dream. And I wake up in the dream, and I'm at Bear River High School, where I went to high school. And there was this quarry, or not quarry, was it quad?
Yeah,
we would call it the quad. So you would go to the quad, that's how you enter the school and everything. And I wake up and I'm there. No one's there, just me. And I'm just walking through the quad, and it's just black, pitch black, dark clouds. And as I'm walking through, I'm just looking around like, what the fuck is going on? And then it hits me that, like, this is how the other dream happened. Same feeling, same intensity. And there was this grassy, like, huge grassy hill. And that's where me and my friends...
maybe? Grassy knoll?
Grassy knoll, but it was like, yeah, it was a big knoll. So, it was where a lot of us used to hang out, like me and my friend group. And so, I just, like, look to my right, and I see her standing on top of that knoll. And I immediately just have just panic attack, and I still can't stop walking towards her. And as I'm walking, she just starts smiling at me, arms are normal, and just keeps giggling to herself like this is the funniest fucking thing. And then she just looks down at me and says, "We've only just begun." And then it just starts like raining blood everywhere, and she starts dancing like the little fucking girl in Silent Hill, just dancing and ha 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 ha. And this is before that movie even came out, actually. But it's the one thing it reminds me of. That's why I love that movie, because like that fucking little girl reminds me of exactly that little girl. I'm just super happy, just demonic as fuck. And then I wake up, just panic attacked, and I was like freaking out, couldn't go to sleep that night. And then again, more and more it intensifies. And then that's when, as a 6th, 7th grader, I start turning to meditation. I went and got into acid true, the Vikings, religion, or paganism. There's everything, witchcraft. I went and started searching through this stuff to protect myself, make runes. I've done so many things, and this is how I learned about it. And I was practicing this stuff so intense. Pagan stuff, and I'm like, yeah, there's a different meaning behind it for me though, because it was like I'm fucking scared shitless, and then slowly the intensity starts to die down, and then I learned to be able to protect my house. It wasn't more than sage too. Like, trust me, I did all that. For those who know what I'm talking about, like I literally had to do blessing rituals. I had to do so much, and it finally just went away. Yeah, 42 minutes. So it just went away eventually and cured itself, I guess, but it terrorized me for about almost a year, and it was a horrible feeling. So if you guys are trying to open up any portals, make sure you shut them.
Yeah, that's actually an excellent bit of advice. If you play with the dead, make sure they don't have a way to play with you back.
Because they will.
And that being said, we may not have time for this now, but I do have my own independent story about that little girl, and that was going to be my second story, but maybe for another time.
It looks like we're gonna have to keep Trials and Ghostalations for ongoing for a few times, because there's a lot, man.
There is.
We'll have some continued stories of us telling true stories, and then some of them we'll tell you beforehand if we're making this one up. But we'll make our own creepy stories, because we like to creep each other out, make up stories in the moment. It's just a fun thing to do, but these are all true.
These are real. These are 100% real. And
it worked out.
no, I'm glad you channeled that experience.
Yeah.
And what's really interesting, and I do want to let you guys know that we have an opportunity to take on a real live ghost encounter adventure situation.
An investigation of a paranormal phenomenon.
An investigation of sorts, and we will have our a necessary technology at hand. We have a bona fide haunting going on in my family, and we are going to take you along for the ride, whether or not we find anything. But I have a good feeling about this, so stay tuned. We will have something for you.
If it's nothing, because he's getting a spirit box, which is on its way.
Yes.
If you don't know what that is, A spirit box basically channels a bunch of different radio stations.
Yes, unclaimed radio stations. So
it cycles through it fast.
It cycles back and forth through static stations, yet you can pick up certain words when you ask questions, and it won't do this randomly. You can have it just going for hours, and it will do nothing.
And see, that's the thing, is like an EVP is electronic voice,
electronic voice phenomenon. Mm-hmm.
And so it picks up, and you ask a question, and you're recording. It's like a recorder, and it's a special kind of one, but you can still do it on some recorders. Yeah. And so we're gonna bring our own recorder. We have our own little one.
Yeah, we'll have a voice recorder. We'll have the spirit box. We'll have a Polaroid camera. We'll have
our camera,
the camera that
with night vision and everything
that you're watching us on now. Mm-hmm. We will have our phone cameras, and we'll have ourselves.
And we're gonna cover every angle as possible. And if we don't have crazy footage for you to see, we'll still tell you about the experience and what it's like. Because one, me and Anton, we've always wanted to use a spirit box. We both have talked about this, and now we get to.
Secondly, we both are aware that we've had these experiences, paranormal of the such, and we are open and understanding that this could very well happen.
Yeah, and it seems like with all the evidence there, we're pretty stoked on this, and we will definitely keep you guys updated on that, because one, we're not ghost hunters, but it's gonna be fucking goddamn fun.
This is definitely not what we are professional at, but we want you to know that we are going to take this as seriously as possible, and we want to show you what we find, if anything.
And you'll be the only ones who get to hear about it is on our channel. So, I mean, if we find something too, we're not going to go run to some crazy blah 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 person and be like, hey, make us famous. This is for y'all, for Into the Depths, because this is what we love, this is what we do, in a sense, but mainly that we're doing this out of excitement, because this is just so cool.
It's a little too much to ignore. And just for your guys' knowledge, this is coming from my sister, who is legitimately, I love you, Diana, the smartest person I know, B, a very grounded individual, C, is interested in the paranormal, but D, has never really had paranormal experiences. So this is really special.
And what we're going to do is we're going to save the background information for it when we do the episode, so you kind of know what she told us beforehand, because we do have the information that makes us want to go check it out.
Yes.
But we're not going to tell you until then, because it's just going to add to the episode. But no, we are super stoked. And then also, we're looking at a possible sponsor here. So, hoping so. And if anybody who has a business or knows someone who would be willing to sponsor us,
we're open to it.
We're cheap sponsors, like, shirts or whatever. Let us know.
We'll support you if you support us, and we're just trying to do our best, and we hope that we can help you.
Yeah, this is only the beginning, and I am stoked for it.
As am I. We are constantly progressing, constantly trying to do more, give more to our listeners, our subscribers, our watchers at this point. We love you. And I guess all there is to do is say, remember to always dive even deeper into the depths.